Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Wednesday morning at the Empty Cloud Monastery. Today, I am filling in the spot which I think is usually taken by Ayyā, a wonderful Dhamma teacher. If I could, I will try to be close to her excellence as someone speaking about the Dhamma. For the past few times, I have been considering the gradual training or the threefold training, the training in Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, in ethics, meditation, and wisdom, culminating in full awakening. And this sutta today, which might take 2 sessions, today and Friday of this week, we'll be looking at Sutta number 27 in the Middle Length Discourses, which is the shorter discourse on the simile of the elephant's footprint. So we can give respect to the Triple Gem. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham saranam gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. In the version of this sutta, in the Chinese Agamas, it begins with the recluse Cūḻahatthipadopamasutta visiting the Buddha and having a deep impression from the Dhamma instruction that the Buddha has given. And then he departs, and on his way out, he meets the Brahmin Janusoni. This version that we're reading here omits that very first moment and simply begins with the meeting between these two. I'm going to summarize the part with the settings, and then I will be reading to you from the part which is the teachings given by the Buddha. The Brahmin Janusoni was a high status Brahmin priest. He was the teacher, or the chaplain, I should say, at the court of King Pasenadi. So this is a tradition that developed to even greater degree in the centuries after the Buddha's time, when the Brahmins became very much engaged in their connection to the political leaders, giving advice and ceremonies and blessings to the political leaders. Cūḻahatthipa, we'll see this. He praises the Buddha as one who's able to defeat nobles or Khattiya caste, Brahmins, householders, and ascetics in debates, and convince them to come to be converted to become students of the Dhamma. And he describes this ability in debate, or this power as a charismatic teacher, as being similar to the footprints of a great elephant, the mark of a great elephant. So by seeing the Buddha's popularity and his success as a debater, he comes to the conclusion that the Buddha is the equivalent of the great elephant. I want to note here that Cūḻahatthipa is an admirer of the Buddha, but he is not described as being a stream winner and not described as somebody who has on the path of stream winning. So somebody who's established confidence in the Triple Gem, who's gained some level of initial right view, could be said to be somebody who's on the path of stream entry. Cūḻahatthipa is not there. He's only merely impressed by something very superficial, which is the Buddha seems to be convincing many in the teachings. Now, Janusoni, by contrast, is a long-time dedicated follower of the Buddha. There are quite a few suttas where Janusoni approaches the Buddha and requests advice about the Dhamma. He has this conversation with Cūḻahatthipa and goes to the Buddha and describes the conversation. The Buddha criticizes the way that Cūḻahatthipa has described his confidence as not being good enough. And then he gives his own metaphor of somebody who's tracking the great bull elephant. And you will see in this metaphor that actually the great bull elephant stands for two things. It stands for the Tathagata, one who's a Sammasambuddha, one who's a fully realized awakened one. And in my opinion, it also is a symbol of Nibbana, the quest for Nibbana, as we go through the training. And we'll go through many, many steps and stages of the training. Each one is onward leading, one step providing the supportive conditions for the next stage to open up. And yet we know we still have not reached the destination until we reach the destination. And then we know that we've seen the great bull elephant. The Buddha says, a Brahmin, suppose an elephant woodsman were to enter an elephant wood and were to see in the elephant wood a big elephant's footprint, long in extent and broad across. A wise elephant woodsman would not yet come to the conclusion, indeed, this is a big bull elephant. Why? In an elephant wood, there are small she elephants that leave a big footprint, and this might be one of their footprints. He follows it, and he sees in the elephant wood a big elephant's footprint, long in extent, broad across, and some scrapings high up. This would be high up on the trees. A wise elephant woodsman would not yet come to the conclusion, this is a big bull elephant. Why? There are tall she elephants that have prominent tusks and leave a big footprint. This might be one of their footprints. He follows it even further and sees a big elephant's footprint with scrapings high up, and marks made by tusks. And a wise one, elephant woodsman, doesn't yet come to the conclusion this is the big bull elephant. Why? There are tall she-elephants that have tusks and leave big footprint. This might be one of their footprints. Then finally, he follows it further, and he sees the big elephant's footprint, long in extent, broad across, and some scrapings high up, and marks made by tusks, and broken off branches. And he sees that bull elephant at the root of a tree or in the open, walking about, sitting or lying down, and actually seeing the elephant. He comes to the conclusion, this is that big bull elephant. And now the Buddha is going to present 8 marks of the Tathagata. So too, Brahmin, a Tathagata appears in the world, accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of the world's incomparable, leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened and blessed. He declares this world with its gods, its maras, and its brahmas, this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its princes and people, which he has himself realized with direct knowledge. He teaches the Dhamma, good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, with right meaning and phrasing. He reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. I would mention here that the description of gods, including gods, maras, and brahmas, recluses, brahmins, princes, and people, is meant to be all-inclusive of all of the individuals who would be capable of hearing the Dhamma. And it includes the world that we live in, and it also includes the lower heavens and the hell realms, the entire spectrum of our Kama Loka. It includes the entire spectrum of the Brahma Loka, where the Brahma gods live, and it includes the spectrum of the immaterial realms. So the Buddha has fully comprehended the entire spectrum of samadhi, the realm of impermanent existence where the round of rebirth is taking place. So now here's perhaps even preliminary to the spectrum of sila, is the occasion where one encounters the Dhamma. A householder or householder's son, one born in some other clan, hears that Dhamma. On hearing the Dhamma, he acquires faith in the Tathagata. Possessing that faith, he considers thus, household life is crowded and dusty, life gone forth is wide open. It is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure, as a polished shell. Suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth into the home life, into homelessness. On a later occasion, abandoning smaller large fortune, abandoning smaller large circle of relatives, he shaves his hair and beard, puts on the yellow robe, goes forth from the home life into homelessness. For those who are listening, who have not made a decision about entering into the monastic form, I hope you would consider that there's a certain extent to which you have already decided that the way you lived before you heard this Dhamma was not good enough. and you don't want to associate in the same way with materialistic goals, materialistic ambitions. You've perhaps come to some degree of separation from the concerns and interests of some of the people around you who are interested in parties, entertainment, fun, sensual pleasure, who are interested in perhaps confused about what's skillful and what's not skillful, perhaps thinking that delusion is the same as wisdom, or that anger is beneficial and love is or kindness is weak, thinking that the only way to escape from painful feeling is to cover it up with sensual pleasures, not realizing that there's another completely different kind of happiness, which is so vastly superior to the happiness and relief that one gains from sensual pleasures or from materialistic kinds of happiness. Something that's more stable, more long-term, more beneficial. And it may be that as a householder, especially as one matures in the practice, one can become very much a lay renunciate. We see many examples in the ancient suttas, and we see many examples even today of persons who, because of some circumstance in their life, remain in the secular form, but who become more and more simplified, renounced, and pure in their way of life. And so, living like that, it's definitely possible to become a noble trainee in this path. If not to obtain the highest, it's possible to get on the path to become a stream winner or better. However, in this sutta, the Buddha is describing the training that's followed those who do become disciples in the monastic form. When you consider what's described as the sila of a monastic, I invite you to think about to what extent, what parts of this sila you will fully be able to undertake and embrace in your own life, and what parts of this sila or this morality is what you will rejoice in seeing that it's possible for those who have given up money and entered the monastic form, that it's possible for humans to cultivate in this way. These are the qualities that you ought to really expect when you meet a monastic, and one can rejoice in seeing them. So, having gone forth, possessing the bhikkhu's training and way of life, abandoning the killing of living beings, he abstains from killing living beings. With rod and weapon laid aside, conscientious, merciful, he abides compassionate to all living beings. Abandoning the taking what is not given, he abstains from taking what is not given, taking only what is given, expecting only what is given. By not stealing, he abides in purity. Abandoning incelibacy, he observes celibacy, living apart, abstaining from the vulgar practice of sexual intercourse. In these ways, a Buddhist monastic is able to live in the world among lay people in a way which is completely safe, completely harmless. Just the way a bee can take the pollen from the flowers without harming the flowers, actually helping the flowers while he visits them. He doesn't destroy the flowers in obtaining his own food. So then, in the same way, you would know that a Buddhist monk is not going to harm you, is not going to hurt you, is not going to injure you in any way. And even the animals know that if they come to the monastery, they will be safe, that the hunters are not going to come into the monastery grounds and kill them. And you would know that a monastic is not competing with you for the things that you need for your livelihood and your sustenance. So they're not going to be using devious means to get a hold of your wealth or to trick you out of your wealth or something like that, much less taking something by force. You would expect our monastics to be so careful in not exploiting the faith of lay people in a way of taking advantage. That's part of not taking what's not given. And if the monk is going on the alms round, like it used to be in the olden days, they would go to houses, and perhaps the ladies would be in the house, and possibly the husbands would be out and about working, trading or doing their business or farming or something like that. And the monks might receive alms from the hand of women. But you may be absolutely confident that a Buddhist monk will not take advantage of anybody with their sexuality. And if it did happen, that person would not be a monk anymore. It would not get covered up and let that monk continue to be a monk. Your children would be safe with a Buddhist monk. All persons would be safe, that they wouldn't be taken advantage of in that way. A Buddhist monk should never use their spiritual authority and love and admiration of people to take advantage in that way. And so that's one of the important benefits of the celibacy of the monk in terms of our existence in the community. And then as well, it creates the opportunity for monks to be full mendicants, depending on charity, without having the responsibility of family life. And as well, it enables the monks to be more open to the more easily to reach the consolation of the bliss of samadhi, because of not being distracted by sensual pleasures. So then the next group of sila is about speech. Abandoning false speech, he abstains from false speech. He speaks truth, adheres to truth, is trustworthy and reliable, one who is no deceiver in the world. And you may know that it sometimes can be difficult to even ascertain for sure what the truth is in a particular situation. One might feel intuitively, something's going on, but they don't quite fully know what's happening, what the real truth of the situation is. And you would expect that a monk, and I hope you would expect of yourself, to be careful in speech, to speak as truth things that you're sure about, that you're certain about, that you've realized for yourself as truth. Or if you're reporting something that you heard from a reliable source, you could report that, saying, I heard this from a reliable source. But definitely not using white lies or strategic silence to create a deceptive impression. Abandoning malicious speech. He abstains from malicious speech. He does not repeat elsewhere what he heard here in order to divide those people from these. He does not repeat to these people what he heard elsewhere in order to divide these people from those. This is one of the most common habits of speech of an ordinary person. Even I heard a scientist say that the reason why the early humans developed the big brain is so that they wouldn't be limited to the number of people that they could meet directly within their own village, but they could question travelers and find out what was going on in the next village over, to see whether the people far away are peaceful or warlike, or whether they have any girls who'd like to get married, or whether they have any goods that they'd like to trade, or any needs that they'd like to trade. And so exchanging gossip about people who are far away is a basic activity about humans. So that's not forbidden here, but using speech to create division. Using speech, if you think somebody is good and you're happy with them and pleased with them, and somebody else comes along and says, oh, this person has some bad habit. Oh, this person has some bad quality, to cause you to break your admiration for them. You don't need that. To respect the capacity of persons to develop and improve, you should let the person reveal what they are, what kind of person they are, directly, and not go on hearsay, and not encourage hearsay, not invite hearsay, not invite malicious hearsay. Thus is one who reunites those who are divided, a promoter of friendship who enjoys concord, rejoices in concord, delights in concord, a speaker of words that promote concord. Abandoning harsh speech, he abstains from harsh speech. He speaks such words as are gentle, pleasing to the ear, and lovable, as go to the heart, are courteous, desired by many, and agreeable to many. Abandoning gossip, he abstains from gossip. He speaks at the right time. He speaks what is fact. He speaks on what is good, speaks on the Dhamma and discipline at the right time. He speaks such words as are worth recording, reasonable, moderate, and beneficial. Dear friends, abstaining from killing, lying, and sexual misconduct, those are all behaviors that somebody could do while being an isolated recluse, living in the seclusion of the forest, practicing meditation and being far away from society. But this rule about speech is definitely implying that this is when morality comes into the social realm, whether it be in the world or whether it be within the community of the monastic communities, when monks came to be gathered together in larger communities and dealing with all of the different experiences that are so horribly described in the Vena, with the stories of the potential ways that monks can take a wrong turn and learn how to correct and purify themselves by a conversation with their colleagues. I very often hear from lay people that practicing right speech is the most difficult part of the Buddhist morality for people who are out and about in the world, because the world does, I'm taking meaning the secular world, does not necessarily practice this kind of right speech, and the world doesn't expect this kind of speech, this kind of right speech, and the world may even pressure a person to partake of gossip or cruel speech, aggressive speech, angry speech. They may try to, get your goat to provoke you into a quarrel, something like that. So this is one of the really greatest examples of the way in which one can be a Dhamma messenger, carrying the lesson of the Dhamma out into the world to the greatest extent that you can, to think before speaking, and to speak in a way which is wise, reasonable, on the point, in which has that quality of being helpful, being loving, being gentle. We know that there are some exceptions to this rule, and the one exception that's not given in this sutta, but we see it elsewhere, is in some urgent instances, one may speak in a way which is not soft and gentle. The example would be if your child or your pet is running into the street and in danger of being run over, you might shout at them very loudly, "Stop, stop!" With using it's a commanding voice. This is a direct order. Stop. And that would be an example of using our speech for a beneficial purpose. Another example that I have seen, this is about useless speech, or what's called a sampapalapa, which is the Pali word for blah, blah, blah. My teacher, Bhante Gunaratana, sometimes would be visited by local people in West Virginia who were not Buddhists at all. Very often there would be students who were doing a term paper for college, and they had to speak to another religion other than Christianity. And so these uninformed people would sometimes come, and I would go on and on with the most trivial, inconsequential, foolish conversation. And Bhante would just be so friendly and nodding and listening to them and just being friendly and receptive and taking in all of that useless speech, about the sports, or somebody telling them about their kids in school, or all things like that. And it made a big impression on me because it was, at that time I was a novice at the Bhavana Society, and it was hard for me to get 10 minutes of interview time with Bhante. And here he was taking some stranger who knows nothing and giving them a whole hour with such a large amount of sampapalapa. But he's doing it in order to establish a cushion of loving kindness towards that person until he gets a chance to put in some drops of Dhamma according to what would be beneficial for that person. These other rules are more particular to monastics than to householders. I still think a householder might consider these practices. He abstains from injuring seeds and plants. This would mean that a monk is not setting up a farm and growing crops in a competition with the householders. And it also means that the monks are courteously not offending some other recluses who had the belief that plants are, some had an extreme belief that the plants are sentient and that they shouldn't be caught or injured in any way. For us, when we are sensitive to the danger to the environment from inconsiderately trampling and destroying the ecosystem, and realizing just as the farmer depends on the crops for his livelihood, and he wouldn't want 500 monks to go trampling across the right field, ruining the crops. Just the same way, there's a lot of small animals and birds and insects who are depending on the ecosystem to be intact so that they could find their livelihood. And if we trample and wear out the natural world, or if we pave over the natural world, we are destroying the livelihood of those small beings. And we're not just causing them to quietly move away and go to a different place. Actually, those birds and animals and insects may not have the intelligence or ability to relocate, and instead they come. A friend of mine saw this in Florida. A vast marsh had been converted into a shopping mall with a vast parking lot and a few trees. And she saw thousands of migratory birds perched on the few trees in the middle of this parking lot, which used to be their stopping place, part of their life cycle. So abstain from injuring seeds and plants. He practices eating only one meal a day, abstaining from eating at night outside the proper time. The Buddha advises to eat less. You don't need nearly so much food that normal people take. I heard from a scientist that primitive peoples might catch an animal or come across some honey or something like that and have a tremendous feast one day, and then they might have very little at all to eat for the next 3 or 4 days. And so only like from time to time do they get a tremendous feast and have a giant meal. But in modern times, we have the opportunity, if we want, to have a great big feast every day, and that's too much food. So don't eat so much. He abstains from dancing, singing, music, theatrical shows. in particular, these kind of performances are designed to entrance the mind, to bring you away from the stress, dissatisfaction, difficulty, exhaustion, or tension of the day, and to enable an experience which is quite relaxing. But then at the end of your show, of watching a show, you may not have very much. I have also heard from my teacher, Mataji, sometimes advising that for lay people, if someone is extremely upset or stressed or distressed about something and very are wound up, there's are different ways of stepping down and reducing the stress level and becoming more relaxed until one is able to let go of the anger or the upset, whatever it may be. And he did recommend soothing music as something that could be used as a medicine in a case like that. It's also true that the Buddha used many stories and fables and metaphors, symbols, and we see shows that are performances of the Buddha's suttas. Somebody asked me whether giving a Dhamma talk like this is comparable to stand-up. I guess in some ways it could be. So when you consume the media like that and the arts, consider what your purpose is, and consider what the impact is on your psychology. He abstains from wearing garlands, smartening himself with scent, embellishing himself with unguents. He abstains from high and large couches. He abstains from accepting gold and silver. He abstains from accepting raw grains, raw meat, women and girls, men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses, mares, fields and lands, going on errands, running messages. He abstains from buying and selling. He abstains from false weights, false metals, false measures. He abstains from accepting bribes, deceiving, defrauding, trickery, from wounding, murdering, binding, brigandage, plunder, and violence. All these kinds of livelihood. I'm so sympathetic to people who are working for a living to earn a livelihood, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of difficulty. I'm strongly aware that for a monk to have stepped away from the money world, stepped away from trading and business, is an amazing gift. And in that way, the monk path is the easier, more direct, and more natural way to awakening, because it's a way of life which is separated from a lot of different kinds of stress. It is possible to have a livelihood and to refrain from these kind of things if you have a right livelihood. It's possible to be like the potter who just made his pottery and put it out in the yard, and anybody who needed a pot could take one, and if they wanted to give something, they could give. And so one can live a life which is based on a gift economy, rather than trading for money. It's something to consider. So we're just about come to the conclusion of what is called the spectrum of virtue, which is what I'm going to be wrapping it for this morning. The last part of the spectrum of virtue here. He becomes content with robes to protect his body, with alms food to maintain his stomach. Wherever he goes, he sets out, taking only these with him, just as a bird, wherever it goes, flies with its wings as its only burden. So too, the bhikkhu becomes content with robes to protect his body and with alms food to maintain his stomach. Wherever he goes, he sets out, taking only these with him. Possessing this aggregate of noble virtue, he experiences within himself a bliss that is blameless. And I think in the Pali, that bliss is pamoja. No, sukha. So it's a blameless happiness, a happiness which is completely free from any kind of remorse or any kind of moral dread, free from any kind of fear of being subject to criticism or blame by our wise and respected companions. So I'm stopping here, and I would like to invite your any comment or question about the spectrum of sila, sometimes called the aggregate of sila, the spectrum of morality, which is the solid foundation for true happiness. This is such an important aspect of this overall area of sila. Like, what is the purpose of sila? What is sila good for? Some philosophers argued that Buddhism doesn't have an ethic, which is a philosophical system for morality, for like a reason why morality is what it is, a theory of morality. They think that morality should be like the greatest good for the greatest people, or morality should be a character morality. If you have this, follow these practices, you will become a good person. Or an authority morality, that you follow morality to obey the people who handed it down to you. But I believe that the Buddha really does have a systematic philosophy of sila, and I believe that it's contained right in that last sentence that I read, that the blameless happiness that arises from the full realization of this noble ethics. So happiness, morality, in one way you could say it starts from compassion and loving kindness, because if you are compassionate, you won't want to hurt anybody, including yourself. It starts from right view in a certain way, because if you realized how bad dukkha was, how pervasive, how our whole life trapped in samsara has never completely escaped from the shadow of dukkha, then naturally the wish or the aspiration will come up to you that let me not increase the dukkha. Let me not add any dukkha to the world, whether to others or to myself. And one would become increasingly careful about that, to not add dukkha. But so the starting of morality is coming from loving kindness and compassion. And then the culmination of morality is happiness. So morality is for happiness. That's really different from an alternative idea what morality is, which is this kind of happiness, thinking that happiness is for the purpose of scolding one another. You need to integrate the ethic and realize it directly. If you don't discover within yourself your own moral compass, then you will be constantly depending on external rules and regulations to tell you what to do. If you don't know your own standard and are depending externally, then in the worst case, one would continuously be in a state of anxiety, not knowing whether your decision is going to be on the track with all the rules and regulations in the world. You know, we have the bhikkhus have 227 rules in their patimokkha, and the bhikkhunis have 311 rules in our patimokkha. And then in the within the other parts of the Vinaya, there are many more regulations that are set down related to how the group activities are done by the Sangha. So you may think it's really amazing to follow so many different rules, but you have got an equal or larger number of rules that you have to follow. You have to follow the traffic rules in the locality where you live. You have to follow the civil law where you live. You have to follow the tax law where you live. You have to follow the regulations that govern your occupation. You have to follow the rules that are imposed by whatever workplace you happen to be in. If you are part of the government, you have to follow the Robert's Rules of Order. And on top of all that, you have to follow the rules of etiquette, which can be extremely difficult because different cultural groups have different, slightly different standards of etiquette. So to look somebody in the eyes and smile is very nice in some cultures, and then maybe in some other culture it might be considered disrespectful or challenging in some kind of way. Morality can be stressful and painful until you got your own. When you got your own, it's much more relaxing. Until you're fully mature in your morality, the best blessing you could have would be to have a wise and compassionate teacher who would gently discuss and clarify and help you to understand and consider all of the different and ethical decisions that you have to make. But if you had a teacher or a boss or a parent who was arbitrary, harsh, and punitive, that you couldn't win with them, because no matter how hard you try, you try to do the right thing and it's never right, or it's never quite good enough, or something like that. That could make a person be quite stunted in their ability to develop this joyful ethic. But when we are blessed with having teachers who are sympathetic like that, and who can discuss in an open-minded way and teach how to think about morality, that's the way to do it. That's part of right speech. Parents sometimes do that for their children, and I've visited homes where the discussion between the teenagers and their parents is like going to a class in philosophy, because they're talking about ethics. There are situations, so many different situations that came up in school or whatever, and they're being, discussed, saying, "Oh, what do you think? What's the best decision here? What's the pros and cons? How to handle this situation to become?" And that's what we need until we reach the having an internalized standard that's well realized within us, that we know what kind of person we are. We know others may gossip, I don't gossip. Others may kill, I don't kill. Others may get lose their temper, I don't lose my temper. Others may succumb to intoxication, but I hold on to my sobriety, and in a way that's just a convenient shortcut, that you don't have to think about it every single time, but then you can come to be practiced. And so then the spirit of both the combination of prudence and kindness is what shows through in your life, what you manifest in your life, and it protects you whether you're alone in the forest, or whether you're out and about in society, or whether you're confronting various people who, to a different extent, either share or do not share the same values that you have. When you've got it inside, others will recognize and they will honor and respect the morality that you show. So this lesson today has been about the spectrum of Sila, and we can close by saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.